that Drew Karpyshyn wrote about what happened to Revan and Malik when they left the outer rim and then came back as Geth. I'm about to say as Geth.
Came back
as the Geth.
I got Mass Effect on the
mind. They went to the Mass Effect universe.
Exactly. I just switched over to the Mass Effect universe when they came back as Sith, and then like in between KOTOR 1 and 2, Revan disappears and he goes back out there to fight this threat. And then the exile goes after him. Like, I wonder if, because that kind of like is supposed to be like the roots of what the Sith are really about, like that they're not even really from this galaxy. Like, I wonder if kind of that like revelation of was just like, that's a little too much. Let's just say this is not canon.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that something from outside the galaxy has shown up in Star Wars. I mean, the entire Yuuzhan Vong saga, which ran in the mid-2000s, early 2000s, that was an entire arc about creatures from, the outside of that galaxy invading. And there are characters throughout the Star Wars saga that have hinted at, kind of extra galactic beings. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if the unknown regions, which is where Revan and Malik went, are involved in that with the Chiss.
Then is all that stuff still canon?
No, as far as I know, none of it is.
No, that's why I kind of feel like they made it all not canon, because it was like it was kind of making it almost like the source of the dark side was coming from outside the galaxy almost. So I don't know. I mean, like I just really enjoyed the KOTOR games, and I still want to do the Old Republic at some point. Once I finally build my PC.
They said in the galaxy far, far away, even further away from the one that you know. That's what the story is now.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to get into that at another point, because we could go on about Star Wars. I mean, the entire podcast, but we'll have to get Josh back on. But everyone, welcome to Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. This is podcast number 146. Man, we're getting up there in numbers. It's crazy. It's going by fast. We do have a special guest this evening, a gentleman who I was recently introduced to by the Iron Lords, more specifically Lord Cognito. And by the way, if you haven't gone to their website, definitely check out the websites, lordsofgaming.net. And Josh is actually a writer for lordsofgaming.net. Just posted his Anthem review, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that. But want to give a big Brat welcome to Josh Redding. Josh, welcome to Brat, man.
Hey, glad to be here. I appreciate you guys bringing me on, and looking forward to talking some Anthem.
Absolutely, man. So Josh, do me a favor, because you typically with first guests or new guests that we have on, we like to get a little bit of our background in terms of gaming, and obviously you've actually authored books, and now you're writing for the Lords of Gaming. But just tell us a little bit about yourself. What some of the previous work that you've done in terms of writing, and how long you've been gaming for.
Sure. So I'm 28 years old. I am a physicist. I'm currently working on getting my PhD in physics. And so actually most of the writing I've done is academic and kind of scientific in nature. So working with the Iron Lords of Gaming has been a new experience for me, and it's been an absolutely fantastic one. I've really enjoyed being able to work on the hobby that I've spent most of my life doing. I started with an original Nintendo, playing Mario, Duck Hunt, the classics of the original NES. And after that, we skipped a generation and went to my first console that I actually owned, which was a Nintendo 64. Playing on that, Shadows of the Empire is kind of my first, big game that I can remember as having a huge impact on my life. Followed shortly thereafter by Super Mario 64, Diddy Kong Racing, and GoldenEye, of course.
Mm-hmm.
From there, I begged my parents to buy me a GameCube so that I could continue on with my Nintendo roots, and instead they screwed up and bought me an Xbox, which was actually the best decision they could have made, because it led me to playing games like KOTOR, like Jade Empire, like Jedi Academy, since we're talking all about Star Wars tonight, and of course Halo, which kind of brought me into the Bungie ecosystem, and I've played every Bungie game they've made since. Since then, I've stayed with the Xbox family. I went to the Xbox 360 and then the Xbox One. When the Xbox One came out, I just graduated from college and had started my master's degree. And so I was able to get an Xbox One and a PS4 at launch.
Nice.
And I since have gone back and gotten a PS3 to play some of the classics of the PS3 generation. And it was during that generation that I discovered my love of Dark Souls, which is actually my favorite game of all time. And I've been a huge member of the Souls community, working, doing stuff with Bloodborne and things like that. And third-person action adventure games have kind of been where I have lived, really until the launch of Destiny. The Taken King specifically, it was a game that came out and my brother got into it. And my brother and I have always been pretty close, but he tended to only play sports and Assassin's Creed games. So the fact that he showed interest in anything else was a surefire way to get me to play with him. And so I've been playing Destiny and been a pretty active part of that community for about 3 years now, since the Taken King launched. And so I finally built a PC for the launch of Anthem. It was kind of something that's been in the back of my mind for a good long while. And so I finally took the plunge and built my own home computer. And that was a really cool experience. Definitely something that I would recommend people try out if they have the means and will to do so. And
Josh, I gotta ask you the obvious question. What graphics card did you go with?
I got the Radeon RX 580.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Yeah, I'm actually in that process of thinking about doing that. It just feels like, to me, like the logical next thing to do for me as a gamer, because I haven't gamed on PC since probably, late 90s.
An Apple II.
Yeah, so if I'm thinking like maybe Unreal Tournament, something like probably like 99, 2000. It's the last time I really gamed on PC. So.
Yeah, I still have not yet mastered the mouse and keyboard. I have a Xbox One controller that I'm using to play Anthem on PC. While I acclimate to the mouse and keyboard, it's definitely a big learning curve and one that I have not mastered whatsoever so far.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. So tell us about how you ended up. I know we talked about this before we went live, but how did you get involved with the Iron Lords? Because they're I've said this many times on this podcast. Great group of guys. They just launched their website. I've been podcasting for a couple of years now, and we've been on their show. I've had them on. Just great group of guys in the gaming community. So how did you come to meet them and get involved with what they're doing on their website?
Absolutely. So it must have been about 4 years ago now. I was working with NASA, weirdly enough, in Pasadena, California, and a trip that I went on to work with them just happened to line up with the start of E3 2014. That was the first of the Microsoft Xbox Fan Fest events, and so I showed up with my suitcase and said, "Cool, let's do this." And so it was basically a 24-hour wait in a shopping mall in Los Angeles, an outdoor shopping mall outside of a Microsoft store, to get tickets to go to E3. And while I was there, I met a just fantastic group of guys, Asthmatic and Lord Cognito, who obviously runs the Lords of Gaming Network, and several others that I still keep in touch with and game with online. And it just kind of started a friendship that I've continued on for a couple of years. The community that they have built is really fantastic. It's a diverse group of people that have a ton of different interests, whether that's MMA fighting or comic book stuff or gaming, and it really is just a cool place to go to hang out with people that have like-minded interests and that are always up for a good fight. So everybody has an opinion there, but everybody's willing to listen to yours. And so that's one of the cool things about that community. And when Lord Cognito decided that they want to push the website, they knew my background in terms of writing, and so Cognito approached me and asked if I'd come on and do some pieces for him, and I kind of jumped at the chance to stretch my legs in that respect, and it's been an absolutely fantastic experience. The editors and the guys who run the website over there all have been nothing but supportive and have really helped me to elevate my craft, while at the same time putting out content that I think is pretty great. Most of what I've written so far has been Anthem and Destiny related, though I do read a fair amount of comics, so I'm going to start producing comic book content for them as well. And they've been super encouraging to just let me run with whatever pieces and features I want to, in a way that is really refreshing how open-minded they are to really whatever I want to pitch them. They haven't turned down an idea yet, so I don't know if that says that they're desperate for content or if my ideas are just that good. But
yeah, well, you know what, man? We got to get you back on to talk comics, man, because we were talking about a proper Silver Surfer movie and the abomination of the Fantastic Four movies.
Silver Surfer is my all-time favorite character.
Yeah, I mean,
hey, all right, yeah,
yes, yeah, we got to.
Are you in the Lords of Gaming Discord too?
I am.
Oh, so you probably seen us arguing in the Marvel DC channel on all the comic stuff.
I have indeed, and I've jumped into a couple of them. There was a pretty big thread about AVX and whether Cyclops and the Phoenix Force were right or not, which I waded into a couple times.
Yeah, that was mostly. I think that mostly started by me. Me and my Cyclops was right argument. So
Cyclops was right.
Oh yes. I don't want to rehash it now, but yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll have to bring you back in because there is that new X-Men movie coming out with what's it titled? Is it the Dark Phoenix? Yeah, I don't know.
I'll have to dig out my pitch for an X-Men series if we do that, and I'll pitch it to you guys, and you can tell me what you think.
Yeah, no, definitely, man, definitely. We'll have to do that sooner than later. So, I do want to introduce the panel real quick. We have Eric Jackson from Jurassic Park. What's going on, E?
Not too much, man. How's everybody doing tonight?
Dude, you don't live in Florida, man. You really do live in Jurassic Park.
No, we're like mini Australia, man.
That's not Australia, man. I saw that alligator, that video walking across the golf course. Dude, that was a dinosaur, man. That was not an alligator.
Hey, that's not even like the biggest one I've seen walk across like a golf course.
That's my point,
like
man. You live in
or
Jurassic
whatever, so it's like,
yeah, you live just be careful, man. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, man. I mean, where I live, the day I walk out and there's one in my like lawn or something, then that's a problem.
Yeah,
near any like bodies of water, which is odd because every time you turn your head in Fort Lauderdale or something, body of water. But yeah, if you live like near like big lakes or you're near like closer to the Everglades, it's a good chance you could come out and there could be one in your pool.
Yeah, man. Just like I said, just be careful, man. Just be careful. We have Slow-Mo, the Scholar. What's going on, man?
Doing good. It's been a trying week. I've been like working late every day at work so far, but I am doing good. I think I might be getting a little bit back into Destiny a little bit. Just a little bit.
Hell yeah.
I got starting next Tuesday. Is the all division for a little while, but I'm gonna try to spend a little bit more time and. For Destiny, once they get these issues with Anthem fixed with bricking consoles, I'm gonna get back into Anthem a little bit more since I'm already at end game. I actually bought. I don't know why I did this. I have zero time for it, but I bought Black Desert Online on Xbox. I know. Why do you do this, Slow? Why do you do this to yourself? I don't know. So I did it. I played a little bit of it. I like it. I don't know how much time I can devote to it, but all that, and I'm still enjoying my Switch. I finally finished Mario Rabbids, which was pretty fun. And I think I'm going to either start. I'm gonna play Gris now. I got Gris, and I heard that one's a pretty short game, like only like 4 hours or so. So we'll knock that out, and then I might either play Octopath Traveler next, or Valkyria Chronicles 1. One or the other. We'll see.
All right.
I don't know where I'm getting all this time. Probably because I don't sleep much. I think.
Yeah, man. That's what you probably don't sleep, man.
Yeah, I've been going to bed pretty late every night, but
oh man, well,
it is what it is. I gotta get my gaming in.
Yeah, no doubt, man, no doubt. But all right, cool, man. Well, we have Gaming Forte. What's up, man?
What up? Man, nothing different than what I normally do. Destiny, Anthem. I haven't played Anthem in like 4 or 5 days now because the game is super unrewarding as of lately.
Yeah.
So not playing that until they fix everything. Other than that, I just beat Crackdown 3. Just finally knocked that out.
All right.
Really enjoyed that game just for what it was. But other than that, no, man, just family stuff. We went to Kalahari last week to the water park. So took the kids during their winter break for that. And
Sweet.
Playing family, man, that day, you know, because really, man, when you got older kids, with the exception of my 7-year-old, my 14-year-old, she just wants to be to herself anymore. So it's like, oh my God, we got to hang out as a family. Let's go.
Yeah.
She's like, nah, man, I'm just going to stay here. I said, no, you got to go too. And then I just realized that next year she learns how to drive. So I'm not looking forward to that.
You're in trouble, man.
Oh, boy.
You are in trouble, my friend.
Yep. 15 and 9 months in Michigan. That's when you can officially take driver's training.
Jeez. Well, yeah. Like I said,
I'll
man,
pray for you.
Yeah,
I prayed for myself twice already.
Oh my goodness. You have to buy a shotgun soon too, man.
Oh, I already got that. That was foreshadowed already. As soon as I told my wife that I wanted 2 girls, and she was like, "You don't want no boy," I said, "Nah, I kind of remember how I used to be. I'd rather not, you know." But then I didn't really think that thoroughly. I didn't think that through all the way. I was like,
Same here for T.
Yeah, I feel I have one daughter, man, and when she gets into middle school, I'm buying a shotgun.
I will say I am happy to have two young women. Well, one is 7, so she's not really a woman yet. But that are complete opposites of each other. Like, you know, my oldest is super quiet. She likes to be to herself, and then my 7-year-old is like, I mean, if she was a boy, she acts like she's a guy. She yells at people. She's very combative.
She yells at people.
I know she's pretty much like how me and Slumbo's relationship is sometimes.
I was about to say that. Where have I heard this combativeness?
Yeah, it's pretty like how me and Slumbo's relationship is sometimes. You know, we love each other to death, but then when we disagree hard, and that's how her and her sister is.
So it's like you and Slow-Mo.
So I get to see it. So I get to see every day how me and Slow-Mo, when we first met, act towards each other.
You guys have gotten You guys have gotten a lot better, by the way. Exactly. You guys have gotten a lot better.
Oh man,
definitely got a lot better. At least I think so. But that's But well, speaking of Anthem, I do want to bring up Anthem again because I tried playing it today, and I think you guys might have seen what I wrote in the DM. I'm done. The game crashed on me like 3 times, and I can't do it anymore. And with Devil May Cry coming out, hey, how about Capcom?
Comeback, man.
They're my comeback player this generation. I mean, who would have thought? I mean, I was like, okay, Devil May Cry, yeah, it's cool, it's coming out, but it really wasn't on my radar. And then, I was on Breakfast with Boom last Friday, and he talked about the review that Famitsu gave it. And if you've been following Famitsu, if they give a game a good review, it's typically a good game because they're very, very, very critical with their game reviews. And they gave it I think a 90 or something. And but it looks like I think it's what, 88 Metacritic now? Is that?
Yep, 88 Metacritic.
Yeah. So I mean, who would have thought that Capcom, this console generation, would come back like this? I mean, I'm excited. I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, people were ready to kind of write them off after Street Fighter V launched.
Yeah, right.
If I've only played DMC, is it worth it for me to go back and play other Devil May Cry games?
I'm trying to...
And I love DMC.
The last DMC I played was 2, and so
yeah. See, I didn't play the remastered trilogy, so I don't know how they hold up. Either. But at the very least, I would say play DMC 4.
Okay.
Yeah, which still holds up pretty well. Yeah, because I love DMC also, and then Yeah, I would say.
I don't know, man. After playing DMC, it feels the old ones feel old, like real old. After playing the reimagination of DMC, it's kind of hard to go back and play those. It's kind of hard to go back and play those.
Yeah. Like I said, I haven't touched the old trilogy at all.
But DMC 4 is still pretty good. Like it is still worth playing. But honestly, you don't have to go back and play. I mean, of course, you won't know a lot of the nuances of what's going on in the story if you don't. But I mean,
nothing
hopefully they give you a really big, really good flashback or something in this one that explains a lot of stuff. There's a lot of people that didn't play those original ones because that game is like 20 years old at this point.
Yeah.
Is it? Are they really 20 years old? Nah, that can't be. Yeah, you're right.
It was, PS2,
right?
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah.
The first one was PS2. I still remember the opening scene.
Yes. Oh my God. I don't remember the opening scene because I'm. Anyhow,
I'm gonna fight Irrelevant.
Yeah, Irrelevant Native Live Chat says DMC is such a boring franchise. Hey, you know what? Hey, everyone's entitled to their opinion. It's fine. By the way, I'll say this. I'll say to the live chat, by the way.
The first game on PS2 was dope. The second game really kind of like went, It like really lost like track. Like no one talks about that game.
I like the second one.
You do?
Yeah.
For some reason, you like these that other people don't really like, do you?
Yeah, he just likes to be controversial. And
contrarian. Well, I don't like Sea of Thieves.
No one likes Sea of Thieves.
Exactly. Well, there you go.
There you go.
No, there are about 3 or 4 pirate legends out there.
But do you like KOTOR?
Slow-mo.
Yes, I love KOTOR. I do love Knights of the Old Republic.
Slow-mo said there's like 3 or 4 pirate legends out of the whole world.
And I think we know all of them too.
Slow-mo, you're right, man. We probably do know all of them.
Yeah.
But no, I remember playing the first DMC and really enjoying it. And then I think I can't remember the I feel like I did play the second one, but I don't remember much of it. But I felt like it wasn't enough of a difference between the first and second one. I felt like the combat it got boring to me, and so I just didn't care about the franchise after that. So I mean, I heard the Ninja Theory one was. I've heard mixed things about that one. I've heard you either love it or you hate it. That's what I've heard. I haven't played it yet. It's in Game Pass and I have it downloaded.
If you remember the third one, when it first dropped, the thing about that when people said it was difficult, but not because it was hard to get through, it's just because of how they did the save system. And like you would get to a boss, some of the bosses were really difficult, and if you died, you pretty much had to go all the way back to the beginning of the level.
Yeah,
and like work your way through, and then they came out with another version that kind of fixed that.
Yeah, I think.
Why does that remind me of Lost Planet? Wasn't Lost Planet like that?
I think so.
It might have been because
I think it was.
You guys know how. That,
yeah,
I feel like that game had the cheapest bosses in the world, man.
Oh yeah,
good grief.
I think with DMC 2 though, I think one of the things it was criticized for is that it was like super easy.
Yeah, too easy. Yeah, it was something like that. But then they said like it was almost like what Slow-mo said too. Like people kind of said it was like unremarkable versus what the first game kind of introduced.
Yeah, the first game felt fresh and a different take on combat, and then it's just like it didn't go anywhere from there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, I've looked at this, and this looks. I mean, I watched Jim Sterling's review on it. He called it the best Devil May Cry game ever made.
What?
Okay.
Wow. Okay. That's
yeah. Right.
Old statement, Cotton.
So it went from being not really on my radar to now I'm going to have to get this on a sale. You know, because that I'm telling you, this year is going to be different for me. For last year, I beat 28 games. So far this year, I beat 3. I am just playing game. I'm not trying to like, hey, I gotta play all these games because I bought them. I'm not trying to buy a lot of games. I know I keep going back on that. I'm gonna stop trying to buy all these games.
Go back on that.
Well, you know, hey, support the man. He's doing a lot better, man.
That's because he's been playing a lot of looter shooters this year.
Yeah,
that's the only reason he ain't been playing a lot of different games.
That's true.
That is I'm trying to stay focused on. I'm trying to stay focused on the looter shooters, and I won't spend as much on these games that I don't end up playing. But then like when sales happen, I think I might grab DMC5. I think I might be on that one because everything I've seen from like I watched ACG's review and I watched Jim Sterling's review. I mostly only really watch ACG's reviews. I really love how he does it. He doesn't really do a score. It's basically like
breaks everything down and then
the detail he goes into. Yeah, it's amazing. And then at the end, he doesn't give you a score. It's like it's either buy it, rent it, whatever. You know,
yeah.
Don't get it. You know, maybe get it later. So, I'm gonna definitely get it eventually, but I'm just glad, I'm glad it turned out well. I'm glad from what a lot of people are saying, those microtransactions aren't as a bigger deal as it was made to have seen like last year. So
yeah, I was talking to Tony Polanco, who we had on a couple weeks ago, who's reviewing the game. He's like, the microtransactions like have no impact on the game. So yeah, I was like glad to hear that because I remember that was kind of a thing before the game was coming out. Yeah. It's day one for me. I'm picking it up. I figure I can get through it probably in time for the division. So, but I do want to circle back to Anthem because, like I said, I finally just had enough with it. I actually took it out of the Xbox, put it back in the box. I'm done with it.
Good thing you bought it physically.
Yeah, no, I mean, games that I'm not 100% sure about, I will buy physical just in case. So, but on the note, Josh had has just put out a review on the lordsofgaming.net for Anthem, and I got to read some of it, Josh, because I think it just went up this evening, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So I did read some of it, and the parts I did read, I think were pretty spot on. I think with regards to like obviously I think the strength there is how you mentioned the javelins. I think that's the strength of the game, the different javelin types. When you're playing with friends, how you're pulling off combos and combat and stuff. I think that's fun. I enjoy that, but some of the other stuff is lacking. Like we talked about this, last week when we talked about Anthem. The ability not be able to, change your loadouts. And having to go back.
It is the biggest mistake that Anthem makes. Just fundamentally, that breaks the experience in a way that Destiny 2 did the exact same thing at launch, and they realized it and were able to rectify it. So if people recall back to Destiny 2 at launch, when you would go on missions, you wouldn't get loot drops. You would get tokens that you would then take back and turn into one of a dozen token vendors, and then that's when your loot would drop. And that takes away the carrot from the gameplay. It fundamentally removes that experience of Gallarhorn dropping, or in Anthem, Papa Pump dropping. Like any of these weapons that the community is starting to find as being the cool weapons to have are just, it's not there. It's just a menu screen back in Fort Tarsis, and it robs you of any immediacy of gratification when you are inside of the mission, and it just dumps it at the end, which that's not fun, and it's not a good gameplay mechanism, especially as if you go on an expedition and find that your loadout is inappropriate for it. Well, sorry.
Yeah.
You're done.
Change it on the fly. I so agree with that. Especially, let's say, like even though they don't really have this kind of content in yet, but let's say you do something that's on the level of like a raid in Destiny or an incursion in the Division, and you're talking with your team, and you realize that you guys need something that you don't have, like you need like a Colossus to really soak up some damage and be a distraction, or you need, or you have the right abilities or talents on your Storm, but they're not equipped at that moment. There's nothing you can do. You have to go out and start over again to be able to make any changes. It's just I mean, it may be realistic in the sense that if you're really in a javelin, you can't just go, oh, let me just go get my engineer to pop this off and put something else on. But No one really cares about that. This is a looter shooter. We want to be able to do these things, you know?
Quality of life is not a priority in Anthem at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, it's so evident in the heating mechanism that overheats you and causes you to land. It's evident in the entire makeup of the forge. The menu system is a complete mess, trying to figure out anything that's going on. And the walking speed in Fort Tarsis, like, there's so many little things that they seem so obvious to us, but I just can't help but wonder if, like, it's one of those things where you can't see the forest for the trees when you're working on the game for so long that it just becomes, well, this is how it is, and so therefore this is the best way to do it.
But and Josh, now, I got a question for you. I mean, it's like, and I think that's a great point. Like, you know, perhaps they got lost, you know, as they're developing the game. But I mean, there's a blueprint out there, though, right? I mean, like, somebody's got to be saying something in terms, like, hey guys, wait a minute, like, this is what we have here isn't going to work based on the mistakes of, like you mentioned Bungie, what Bungie did with Destiny. I mean, there's a blueprint out there.
I wonder if BioWare sees, obviously EA sees Destiny as the competition with Anthem, but I wonder if BioWare does, because BioWare's track record with games is not shooters. It's not Diablo style games. It is RPGs.
Yeah.
And so if we take a look at Anthem through the prism of it being an RPG, where in Destiny, you can change your guns, you can change what powers you have, all of that on the fly. But in an RPG, if you told me, hey, guess what? Anytime you want, you can respec your entire character when you go back to the fort. As someone playing an RPG, that would be huge. You don't think about it because when you're playing an RPG, it's I'm going down this skill tree, I'm going down that skill tree, I'm picking this one and this upgrade and this upgrade. The ability to respec is rarely offered, but that's technically what you're doing. Your character now is the Javelin, and you are able to respec at any time you want. And so coming at it from a lens of an RPG maker, I wonder if they're seeing it as, hey, we're giving them so much flexibility that they've never had in one of our RPGs before. But us as a community coming at it from these games as a service, coming at it from Destiny, is looking at it and saying, this is so restrictive and anachronistic that how could you possibly make these decisions?
Mm-hmm. So that's a great point.
You think they're kind of looking at it from the standpoint of, well, based off of what we did with Mass Effect, and you know, if you look at it, and especially considering this is the same team that did Mass Effect, well, not exactly the same people, but it's the same studio in Edmonton. That with Mass Effect, we had, you know, you would spec your character a certain way, you would put skill points in certain areas, and that's it. If you wanted to respec that, you would have to go back to the Normandy, go into your cabin and do it there. Whereas, maybe it was in the medical bay. I think you did it with Mass Effect. But whereas it's like, hey, you know, you're picking and mixing and matching different pieces of gear and finding loot and putting it on. Yeah, you're really flexible. But then, I mean, I see a lot of, like, their difficulty levels really remind me of Diablo. So I kind of feel like they had to have had some kind of influences outside of just, you know, this is what we do, and now we're going to try to do this, but we're not really looking at anyone else. Because I kind of feel like, yeah, maybe they didn't look at Destiny too much or Division, but they had to been looking at Diablo when they came up with some of the ideas they had.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's very easy to draw a straight line evolutionary path from the Mass Effect series to get to Anthem. I mean, you look at the how the Mass Effect series evolved in terms of its shooting mechanics, in terms of the interplay between the powers that you had and your squad mates, and then in Andromeda, which I'm loath to credit that game with anything, but they started down the road with the jetpack, and it was the platforming in that game was an abject failure, but it's beautiful here. And looking at Anthem as an evolution of Mass Effect, it becomes a much more interesting game. But what's lacking is the fact that there's a broader context of gaming. If there weren't these other games that existed that had our attention and had our money and had our time for the last 3 years, then we'd look at this and say, wow, like, this is such a stellar evolution of what Mass Effect was. But we don't live in that world. We live in a world that has games that cater to our quality of life and cater to the idea of building levels and missions around having teammates. And that's something that Anthem really doesn't do. In my review, I have a post that shows one of the puzzles in Anthem, which is, hey, turn these blocks to match symbols on a wall.
Yeah.
The wall being right next to you. And then I show a picture of the Riven encounter in Last Wish, where it's look through the magic glass to see one of 41 different symbols and then shoot corresponding eyes on this monster. And it's like, the level of complexity of any task in Anthem is so pedestrian, and it just feels like they don't trust the player to be smart.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the flip side is, the Black Armory quest in Destiny, where, streamers were hammering their heads against it for 3 days. And so I think there is a balance there, but I think Anthem goes, I almost called it Andromeda. Anthem goes way too far into the, let's just hand them everything on a platter and like give them all the check marks. And there's no real room for thinking when you're playing Anthem.
Yeah.
The most thought you have to put into it is heat management of your thrusters.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
That's a good point, man.
It's like every time I look at the two differences between the two games is especially between those two. That was spot on, especially with the encounters from Black Armory. I think when Bungie did something like that, they saw a quest like Outbreak Prime, where the whole gaming universe around Destiny came together to solve this ARG code to put something together in a game, and they saw this magical thing happen at the end where everybody solved this together. And then you see the same thing happen with people putting out things like Raid Seekers doing things for Riven, and how complex the vault was and how people were stuck in there for 18 hours trying to do that one part. And then you come back to a game like Anthem where, like you said, you turn a block that has a picture right next to it, or the one circular room where it has the three different color portals, and you just have to match those up to the color that you see in that area that may not be visible at first, but if you look for it, it's right there. It's like,
but like one is as soon as you turn to the right, the symbol's like literally
the
right
symbol's
there.
right there. So it's like when I look at the difference between those two teams, I just think, and even Bungie even came out and said they messed up when they did the Black Armory quest. They trusted the players to be able to figure that out, and they came to a point where they were missing things that was in the code that wasn't shown to people. And I mean, you could take that how you want to take it. I just think they made it really, really hard, and people just couldn't figure it out. And then Anthem is like, well, we want people to still enjoy the game, so we're just gonna, make it super easy for you to get through it. And you kind of just play the game on autopilot half the time when you play Anthem.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned autopilot. That's how every time I've been in Anthem, that's how I felt. Like I'm just indifferent to it. I'm just kind of going through the motions. But then, outside of some of the things you meant, Josh, for me, the technical aspects, like the bugs, the game crashing, being dropped, mid game in a mission, those things just got on my nerves. And now there's apparently 1,400 PlayStation 4s that have been bricked.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, and so it's just like what is like this is like. I love BioWare, I really do. I mean, we were talking about Mass Effect before we went live, and it's sad. It's sad. I think Slimmo, you reminded me this afternoon. I think when we were talking about it, I think you mentioned, well, this really isn't the same BioWare team. Like this isn't like Mike Laidlaw and company.
It's unfortunate. It's and like BioWare is my favorite developer. I've said this multiple times. The majority of the games they've made, and since the original Xbox, have been some of the best games I've ever played. And it's difficult for me to kind of see this game in this state that it's in, and really just difficult seeing them kind of struggle and trying to turn things around, and seeing EA just really understanding this game was not ready to come out, but EA once again just never learns. Never. I mean, we saw this with Andromeda. Andromeda needed like 3 more months, and they said put it out anyway, and then completely abandoned it instead of giving them more time to, make the game better and work on that DLC. And I'm just hoping that that's not the case here. That they're not just going to abandon it here, right in the middle of BioWare working to turn things around. I really want to see this game like a year from now get that same kind of talk that you heard from Destiny 1. We're like, hey, look, this Taken King is really amazing. This is what we were expecting. This is what we wanted. When they came out with update 1.4 for the Division, and everyone's like, hey, this game is really turning around. This survival mode is amazing. That like the time to kill is so much lower. It's so much more fun. I want to see that happen for Anthem, but EA, like, I don't know about EA, man. EA is kind of unknown quantity in them actually allowing that to happen. I'm just not sure.
Well, and I think one of the big troubles with Anthem, at least for me, was that it never got weird in a fun way. Like Destiny gets so weird in fun ways, like, the sword logic and, Courier blade transform and all these wild lore things that happen, the Black Garden and the Vault of Glass. Like there was only one moment in Anthem where I kind of sat up and went, whoa, that's weird. I want to know what's happening next. The sense of mystery and the desire for me to explore just isn't there in Anthem. I don't feel like I will be rewarded with anything if I dive through this waterfall or if I go and explore this ruin. Like the moment I'm talking about is with Matthias. And if you've gotten to that point, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool thing that lingers for much longer than I expected it to, but there just wasn't enough of that, and the NPCs weren't able to stand alone in a way that I found personally compelling, which is such a tragedy when you consider all the great characters that BioWare has given us through the Mass Effect series. Like, I will not forget, Rex or Morgan or Garrus. I won't forget Morgan from Dragon Age, but I can't name a single member of my party from Mass Effect Andromeda. And I have basically played Anthem more or less nonstop for the last 2 weeks. And I still had to go and look up the names of a couple of the characters when I was referencing them in my review, because they're just, they're not memorable. They're fine and they're totally serviceable, but they're not. This is gonna sound weird, but none of them are cool or dangerous or intriguing. It's the mystery. That's what keeps me going in games, and there's just not the mystery there. What does the Anthem do? I don't know, but I also don't really care, because the only time we've seen the Anthem actually do anything is is how it affects the Monarch in a totally boring way.
Right.
So why should I care to delve into the secrets of the Anthem or try to find out what happened to the Shapers? It's they haven't given me any reason to want to care.
And that's kind of been the criticism I think people levied on BioWare with this, giving BioWare's pedigree with storytelling, with some of their previous games. That it doesn't create a situation or scenario where you care or want to go back. And it's funny, I've heard people say, "Oh, well, it's a looter shooter. It's not a Mass Effect. It's not a your typical BioWare game." But I disagree with that. I think that
expectations still, though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I disagree with that idea that because it's a different type of BioWare game that you can't have that expectation. I think for things that just what Josh just mentioned, like not caring what the Anthem is. I mean, that's not good. I mean, when that's kind of the centerpiece of the story, at least in my opinion. But and I think one of the other things you covered in your review, Josh, I thought was really interesting was that you're right. There's no requirement to work together to solve things with other players, other than just getting together and just increasing damage on bosses, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's honestly, I think that is kind of damning of the entire experience of Anthem, in that there's no reason why this is a cooperative game. You don't have to cooperate ever. I played about half of the story mission solo, and then I played the other half. I split it between members of my Destiny raid group and just random public people. And the fact of the matter is that the only reason why I opened my party out to public was because I wanted to do more DPS. There's never anything that's like, ooh, this would be so much easier to do if I had multiple people, like these different boss phases.
Yeah.
Like it'd be nice to have a Colossus in here to tank the damage while, I'm up here with my Storm. But there's no reason to have diverse, characters, to have diverse javelins. Like there's no reason to have a 4-player crew roll through it. It's just a convenience thing of having another player there to, take the hit while you're reloading.
Right.
And so it's like, why? Why is this an online cooperative game when it doesn't take advantage of the one key aspect of it being an online cooperative game, which is the fact that you have other people?
Yeah. No, that's a great point. I mean, it's just, it's I don't want to see this game go to the wayside. I am fearful though that it's going to get, buried and forgotten by the likes of Destiny, and we have the Division 2, which is coming out, and basically what I play on the beta looks really good. What do you think, Josh, that they can do to improve the game moving forward?
I think there's really two things that I think that it really needs to hammer home. So if you finish the campaign, it does open up a couple avenues for some interesting things to occur. Mm-hmm. And I think that if they kind of roll down those pathways and they have to provide a reason to explore and a reason to want to go around. And whether that reason is lore-based or loot-based, it doesn't matter to me. It has to be one of the two, and so far neither of those is in place. The other thing is I think it just needs to become more complicated. I think that the quest structure, I think the interactions between players, I think that they need to lean further into that and make it so that the encounters are more than just pick up a rock and carry the rock to the glowy thing, or fly through 3 glowy things and return it to the glowy thing. Like, those are the missions, or kill the Titan. Like, those are the basic mission structures of Anthem, and rarely does it change from that.
It doesn't deviate at all, really.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. Like, by having the different javelins, I think that like opens you up to new avenues. Like, what if you had a mission where, all of you are towing a Strider, and Colossuses can tow it faster through areas because they're bulkier, or Storms can carry it longer because they have the burst power. Like, just something that requires teamwork and cooperation and uses it in a novel way. That's what I want to see, and that's what I haven't seen.
We was having a little short conversation in the chat with Cognito. We were talking about he brought up a character, Thane, from Mass Effect 2, and we briefly started talking about like how the Mass Effect 2 crew was just amazing. It's like not a bad supporting cast member, crew member, party member in that entire game. It may be a little unfair because Mass Effect 2 is probably one of the best games ever created. But he said that how like he used to talk to them after every mission. He would go around the Normandy and look forward to talking to them just for the dialogue moments, and I did that too. Like I couldn't.
Yeah, me too.
As soon as I got back on the ship, let me go talk to my skipper on the side here, the redhead chick. I can't remember her name. She bought the fact that just some random chick who tells me to check my messages has a name, and she has probably more dialogue options than some of these people who are supposed to be more prominent in Fort Tarsus. It's just crazy to me. And I would like go to all those people and want to speak with them, and I see how they try to add that element of their storytelling to Anthem, but it falls flat because the characters don't really meet expectations. You got Faye, who is very one note. You know, you got Harrow. He's one dimensional. The only one that seems to me to be somewhat interesting is Owen.
Yeah, Owen was the most interesting to me.
Yeah, and then I don't want to ruin it, but he's not there for the entire time. So it's like I did look forward to, like, I'll do a mission for someone, like the girl that works with the Sentinels. I don't remember her name. I do a mission for her. I really don't even want to talk to her just to be able to complete the mission and get that off the docket. I really don't even want to talk to her.
Are you talking about Dax or are you talking about Tassine?
Tassine, yeah. Okay. And look, I don't even want to go into that hallway because the annoying gossiper guy is going to want to talk to me. I want to. I said this. I think it was on the last podcast. I went on a rant about how badly I want him to die. Like,
I would stop defending the city if it meant that I knew that he would die.
Wow. What happened? What happened?
Look. You know what? If Bioware is listening, let's do this for.
They are.
Okay, let's say they're listening, right? Bioware, please implement this in future free content. Let's have a mission where we tell that gossiping guy to jump in the javelin, and he's gonna go out into the open world, and then we're gonna let him die. Okay, we're just gonna let him die, and we're gonna watch him die, and I will feel completely satisfied with that. I can't stand that guy. That's how badly they made that character. Like, I know he's supposed to be annoying.
Oh my goodness,
man! He's like on a whole nother level of annoyance. Like,
you really don't like him, man. You've been hammering him 2 weeks in a row now.
You take the long way around just so that you can avoid him talking to you.
Yes, yeah, you have to. He's that bad. Just like, and I don't talk to him, but he'll talk to you every time you walk past him. He'll still talk to you anyway. It's just like, dude, I'm. Oh, God.
Let me ask you guys a question: Is the BioWare mojo lost because they're trying to do a shared world shooter, or is it just lost?
I think that with back-to-back, I'm going to call them straight up failures in terms of Mass Effect Andromeda and now Anthem. I think the BioWare that made Knights of the Old Republic, that made Jade Empire, that made Mass Effect 2, heck, even that made Mass Effect 3. Like, I may be in the minority, but I loved Mass Effect 3.
I love it.
I love it too.
Mass Effect 3.
Okay, cool. Well,
I wanted it.
I enjoyed the ending.
You're in good company, man.
I knew I liked you guys.
It's a great game. It's just a little bit.
Don't talk about the ending, man. The ending. I like the ending.
Look, you have to talk about the ending. Most people didn't like the ending because it wasn't what they were expected.
No,
but
I like it.
Up until that point, amazing game.
Yes,
it brought back the original crew.
Yes,
some of the new guys, they were but I mean, it was amazing, epic. You know, you're bringing in all these armies. You had resolving storylines like with the Geth and the Quarians. Yeah, I mean,
Krogans.
The Krogan with the Genophage. It was amazing, but just the ending sullied it a little bit, but it's still like, and you know what? People like Drew Karpyshyn were still there when he left in the middle of that development, but he was still there for the majority of that writing. You know, a lot of their great big time people who worked on their narrative team were still around back then. And you know, with Andromeda, that's the Montreal team that no longer exists.
Well, and I think that it's, if you look at the kind of structure of Mass Effect Andromeda, and now Anthem, they're not dissimilar. You have the ancient race. You had it in Mass Effect, and then there was the precursors in Andromeda, and now here it's the Shapers, and you have the big villain who wants to take control of everything. But the difference is that Saren was awesome.
Yes.
And I don't remember the guy's name in Andromeda, and then the monitor here is they're not interesting, and I think that is the problem, is that the writing just doesn't support the world that BioWare is making. Right. And as a result, BioWare games are not must-play games for me going forwards. And that's the saddest sentence I've said.
Wow, that's crazy to see.
I want to roll back a little bit, because I mean, I've been saying like from jump that with its aesthetic and its look, Anthem as a traditional BioWare RPG might have been like day one for me. But hearing you guys talk about like where some of the story parts go and this and that, I'm like, maybe I don't feel that way.
You know, and even look, Dragon Age has always been made by the BioWare Austin team. But their lead writer, the guy who created all the lore, who wrote the additional books, David Gator, he left in the middle of development on Inquisition. He's not there anymore. If you look at
I'm not even sure about that game being like, you know, a must-have now.
Yeah, look, that Austin team had a lot of turnover in the past few years, and it was really rough on them having to stop working on Dragon Age to help the Edmonton team. And that whole all hands on deck that Casey Hudson made in order for the Austin team is just now getting back to Dragon Age after having to help work on Anthem. Like if you look at their job announcements, they're looking at like major position, like team lead positions. They're trying to get people for.
Well, what the hell happened? Because I mean, when Casey went back, everybody was like hype.
Yeah, I was.
Well, yeah, everybody was hyped.
Right.
Yeah. But they had so many of their people who were long-term BioWare veterans were still there when Casey came back. I don't know what happened. It'll probably be detailed extensively in Jason Schreier's next. But like it just became this mass exodus of people just leaving. Right. You just like wait. You know, like Mike Ladlow was it like Laylaw? Laylaw. He leaves. You're like what? Like you see all these people leaving, and it's just like
Mike had been a BioWare for a long time.
Man, it just hurts my heart, you know. I'm just like every time I would see another name leave, and I'm like, really?
I'm telling you guys, I'm not confident in this next Dragon Age. I'm just not. I mean,
so okay. Here's a question: who is telling good stories in games? What studios?
CD Projekt Red.
Besides Naughty Dog. Okay.
Yeah, CD Projekt.
CD Projekt Red.
Obsidian.
Yeah.
I think Ninja Theory. I would now put Ninja Theory in there with Hellblade as a playing Hellblade.
I'll say 343.
What?
That's a joke. That was a joke. I like how everyone got silent.
If you want to say they know how to put a PvP story together, then yeah.
Look, if we were having this discussion after they made Halo 4, I would say okay.
Yeah, I loved Halo 4.
Yeah, Halo 4's story was great. The problem with Halo 4 was the multiplayer was probably the worst of the Halo series. But after Halo Guardians, the
problem with Halo 4 was that then it caused Halo 5 to come out.
Yeah, right.
And if you listen to like that interview with Bonnie that Ryan did, she said that she goes, Halo 4, we nailed the story, like kind of lost it on the multiplayer. Halo 5, we nailed the multiplayer, lost it on the story. She said, so we're hoping with Infinite that we can get both together.
Yeah.
I watched that interview too. That was really good.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, I'm going to go to live chat. Fastback says, big shout out to Fastback. What's going on, man? He says he enjoys Anthem story. Thinks they have a good foundation to improve and build on.
You know, that sounds like Destiny 1 right there, where the story is there, but it's not really there. It's like the one thing I will give Bungie credit for when it came to the way that they implemented their story in the first one is they made you have to go around and look for that stuff, like the whole Grimoire score. You know, that was a really big push in the first year of Destiny, getting that score as high, and that really determined you going out looking for ghosts. And when you did that, you read that stuff. So you actually got a little bit deeper look into the story than most other games will give you. Now, I still say that stuff should have been in the game day one instead of you having to go around looking for it.
Lucas says Forte stop. I don't know what she's referring to, but she's telling you to stop.
What? No, because if she's talking about the way that story was told, as the story was told was trash in Destiny 1, but I like
I didn't mind it. I like that.
But I know a lot of people
mind it.
You didn't mind? No, that was trash, bro.
Yeah, that story was bad, man.
That story was bad, bro.
Has the Stranger come back yet?
No.
I mean, like, what's that? Just show up.
I ain't got time to explain why I ain't got time to explain.
I mean, we know who the Exo Stranger is now.
Yeah,
it's Anna Bray's sister.
Yeah, Anna Bray's sister.
Yeah. Spoilers.
That's
I guess
the working theory. But I mean,
to name another studio that does good stories, I think Larian Studios, who does the Divinity Original Sin series, I think they're pretty good. But yeah, it's not. I don't think it's too many out there right now, unfortunately.
You know the big problem that I like. Perfect example for Mass Effect. Like the one thing I didn't like in Mass Effect Andromeda, like I think Slow-Mo, you liked it, didn't you?
I liked the combat a lot.
Well, the combat was the best part of the game.
Yeah, I think it's the best combat of the Mass Effect series.
Not saying much.
Yeah.
But the one thing I loved about the Mass Effect series and the way it went, the progression was just second to none for me. I like how the first one was all about the atmosphere, about the story, about the systems and stuff. And then the second one, it really melded together the combat and the story in a great way. And then the last one was like all balls to the wall. We know exactly what's going on. It's basically an action movie. And then when you take all of those characters and say, we're going to reset you and basically say, this is Mass Effect, but this is Mass Effect with a different cast. I couldn't get into the cast anymore. It was like the story was not the story. None of that stuff was even memorable to me. Like I played the first few missions of it, and I was like, "This is just going to be a long, grind out story that I probably am not going to care about." Which I ended up not caring about in the end because when you look, it's just like if they Naughty Dog tried to bring back Uncharted without Nathan Drake in it, I don't think it would be as good. I mean,
they kind of did.
It might, you never know, because they might be the one studio that can pull something off like that.
Well, they did bring back Uncharted with
they bring it back with people, but they bring it back with people that were still in the story, like Nadine and Chloe.
Yeah,
were still in Uncharted.
I would say you said like okay, yeah, but
we're talking about in Mass Effect. They brought us everything new.
Well, I mean, like part of the problem with Andromeda compared to the original trilogy is that the Ryder twins are not a viable replacement for a protagonist like Commander
Shepard.
Exactly.
Shepard is I mean, he could be the biggest asshole you've ever seen, or he could be the most heroic Captain America you want him to be, or he could be a pragmatic leader, or whatever you want. But however you decided to make it, they delivered lines, and his voice actor and the actual way the character was written was done in a way that made it convincing. Ryder is those Ryder twins. It doesn't matter which one you choose; they're both the same, and they have no they have no leadership qualities. Really, it's either your choice options in speaking as the characters either try to be funny, but you're not funny, or just be straight laced, and it's just like. There is no options here. I can't tell this dude the fuck off. I'm not doing his mission. No, I gotta do it. I just do it sarcastically, or I just do it meekly. Like it's just like, what is this?
Did you guys play Anthem as a male or a female character?
Female.
I did male.
I did male.
I think the male voice actor is pretty bad.
Oh yeah, he is.
Yeah,
is the female better? I haven't looked at any of her.
I like her line delivery a lot better. It seems like when she's having conversations with people inside of Fort Tarsis, you can tell she has like a smarky attitude in some of her different responses, and it seems like it comes off a lot better under her voice than it did with the male. Because when I did it on Xbox, I did male, and I was like, this doesn't sound good at all.
No, it sounds very bland.
He delivers his lines all the same.
Yeah,
exactly. There's no,
kind of
no
a bland a-hole.
Bland, yeah. So, all right. Well, we're not gonna hammer Anthem too much anymore.
It's doing it. That's doing it itself.
Yeah, poor BioWare. They just can't catch a break with the recent news of 1,400 PS4s being bricked because of Anthem. Yeah, they can't catch a break. But
that's why people stop playing the game because of that.
Yeah.
That's a big
your $400
people stop playing the game.
Away.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, if Josh, thank you again for some of the insight, man, from peer review. Please, everyone, check out the go to the lordsofgaming.net. You can find Josh's review of Anthem up there, and he does give what I thought was from what I read. This just went up tonight. I didn't get a chance to read the entire review, but from what I read, very well written, some great insight, and if you're wondering what the score is, definitely go to the website, check that out. So, don't call me Dennis is 1,400 question mark. Yes, 1,400 PS4s, man. It's crazy. I think, did Jason Schreier just report that too? I think Kotaku did, or I thought Baby Jason tweeted that out too. So it's getting a lot of publicity out there. I think Young Ye did a video about this too.
PS4 is getting momoed.
Yeah.
I'm glad I built a PC to play Anthem on because I have Destiny to play this weekend.
There you go. I do want to go to some news regarding Microsoft, and we talked about, it's been talked about to death with the impending Game Pass going on, making its way to the Nintendo Switch. Apparently, according to Brad Sams, that's not happening, at least for the foreseeable future. But apparently Microsoft is doing something with Nintendo. We don't know what that is. But are you guys kind of surprised by this news that it's not in fact Game Pass when, I think a couple of major media sites are reporting that in fact it was, according to their inside sources.
I'm not really saying I'm surprised. I am disappointed because once I heard the news, I was like, cool. I mean, I looks like I bought my Switch at the right time. I would really love to be able to play. I have Game Pass on my Xbox, and I would love to play those games, while I'm out and about with my Switch. But, it is what it is. It's not completely off the table.
No.
What Brad Sam said was, it's not happening right now. And emphasis on the right now, which could mean it's not happening this year. Could be next year, or it could be, in 2022. We don't know, but I think maybe actually after it came out with Sam's or what Sam saying it wasn't happening, I really started to think about it in detail. Like, how would this work? So imagine playing a game like Shadow of the Tomb Raider through Game Pass on your Switch. Then we know it would need to use like xCloud streaming in order to make it happen on that hardware. But what are you going to play it on? Like, are you going to use those Joy-Cons? Really? Like, or are you going to, I'm pretty sure like a lot of us have the Switch Pro controller, but that you almost need that as like a mandatory thing to play a lot of those games. And I just know like, from trying to play Warframe on the Switch without a Pro controller, it's not an enjoyable experience. They're like, those Joy-Cons are not good for everything.
They're not built for every game.
No. Yeah. And so it's just, just maybe, and the it's the Switch's ability to download data quickly. It's not that great either. Updates take forever in a day. So I just don't know how well this thing was going to work with xCloud. Maybe they're waiting until Switch does a revision. I mean, Nintendo does a revision on the Switch. But
well, I was listening to the Xbox too, and they also brought up the fact that like we still don't even know what the xCloud tech is going to be. Like they've not done any like public testing, like, or anything like that, and we already know like the Switch is going to need that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really not that big a surprise that they're like, no, it's not happening yet. But like Slow-Mo said, I think it's a big yet. Like, I definitely think it's going to happen. I just don't think it's.
So you think it's going to happen like the next year or so, within the next year?
Yeah, or whenever they start talking more about like the xCloud, I don't think it will be like that far behind. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they are in talks and they're figuring things out. It's just not ready to launch yet.
I always thought it was funny that we was putting the cart before the horse when it came to, okay, we're putting Xbox Live on the Switch and then we're putting Game Pass on the Switch too. How about we just get Xbox Live working on the system before we do anything like big, like put a full streaming game service on the system first? I do believe that Xbox Live will still show up on the Switch. I just don't I just think they need to do that part first, figure out how it's going to work, how's the infrastructure going to work, how are we going to get people to be able to communicate between both platforms when it comes to being on an Xbox, a PC, or a Switch. And I thought they had to figure that thing out before they went full bore and said, oh, we're bringing all our games over to the Switch and you'll be able to stream them all. You know, I never heard that conversation come up by anybody. Everybody just wanted to go with the whole narrative that, oh, Xbox games are going to the Switch, Xbox dead.
So you know how
that's the fanboy. You know how the fanboys are. They couldn't wait to say that. They jump on anything to do that.
Yeah, so this doesn't surprise me. I mean, I'm like Slow-Mo. I am disappointed being a Switch owner. It would have been nice to be able to take those games on the go and do something like that. But until you literally can't do one without the other, and they haven't even done the first part yet. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're probably at GDC. We're probably going to see what this is about. There's likely going to be Xbox Live on it, which would be, I mean, that alone would be great for the Switch because it doesn't have any messaging. It doesn't have party chat native to it, which are two things that you would think in 2019 should be just universal. Mm-hmm. Like, that should just be, everyone should have that by now. And of course, this is Nintendo, but and of course, we've heard like Cuphead and Ori are likely to show up on the Switch as well, which makes sense. They are very similar games to what the Nintendo demographic tends to enjoy. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. But,
what if Microsoft, instead of partnering with Nintendo, instead partnered with Samsung and got Xbox Game Pass not only pre-installed on every Galaxy phone, but on every smart TV that Samsung sells?
Oh, that's gonna happen.
Ooh, I mean, I could definitely see that happening in the future. Especially one of the topics today is 5G, especially as 5G rolls out. I could see that without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think that is Microsoft's end game. Is it's an app on your TV that you just flip to and you're there.
You got to be careful saying that, Josh. People get very sensitive. They get worried that Microsoft isn't supporting.
They're abandoning them.
Yeah, they're abandoning them
behind.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Josh. Okay, let's take your scenario a little further. Okay, let's say that does happen. Let's say at E3 they bring out someone from Samsung and they announce this. Let's say, and for example, let's say you got a potential customer, someone who buys a Samsung TV.
Hey, hold on, Slow-Mo. Big shout out to iDizzy. He says Alex Jones says 5G is being pushed for my control.
Hashtag stay woke.
Yeah.
Let's say you have someone who just bought a nice Samsung B9, C9, whatever level they're at now, and they bring it home. They don't have Xbox Live. Is Xbox Live going to be free now?
I think it will be on that system.
I mean, it's the same thing as if you bring home your Samsung TV and there's Netflix on there. You log in and you pay. Instead of paying, $15 a month for Game Pass, okay, now you're paying, or whatever it is, now you're paying $20 a month and you get Xbox Live for Game Pass games and you get access to Game Pass. And it's a flat $20 a month that you pay if you don't have an Xbox console.
Oh, so you're thinking they merge Xbox Live with Game Pass? $20
I think it is inevitable.
Yeah. But what about people on Xbox who are paying $60 a year and then $10 a month?
So I think that's an interesting perspective, and I wonder if the future for the Xbox hardware is, hey, this is a high-end piece of kit for people who want, 4K, zero latency, highest quality everything. And if you buy an Xbox console and that is how you interact with it, then you still have to pay for Game Pass. But I wonder if Xbox Live becomes cheaper or free for those people as an incentive to spend money on hardware. Or maybe they just get rid of the Xbox system, period. Like, Microsoft is a software company, and the Xbox system is not a profitable venture for them from a hardware perspective. Like, the hardware rarely makes money. It's the software that you get all your money from. So they transition entirely to a Game Pass and services centric company, which is what they have been for decades on the PC. That's Microsoft's endgame. I don't think they want to be in the hardware business, except as a high-end boutique. Like, you look at Surface, the Surface tablet is not for everyone. It is a high-end business device. I think having a high-end console that is hey, this is a super powerful thing for, the niche high-end gamer. That is where Xbox is not as a commodity product.
So it'll become this generation's or this decade's Neo Geo.
So Josh, that's Josh Neo Geo. Jeez.
Oh man,
Josh, it's funny you bring up Surface, because I've actually heard from people that's Microsoft's with the hardware side, with the Xbox. That's how they're going to treat the Xbox hardware, is kind of for that high end gamer who wants that premium hardware experience, like how they market Surface, and how they treat that product. That's how they're going to start treating Xbox hardware. And then for the casuals, it's going to be more of the software side of things, like a web application, like we talked about.
Well, and especially if you say, hey, because of bandwidth limitations, the native resolution of every game that comes through Game Pass is now 720p or 1080p, right, and 30 frames, and that's the best that it can possibly be. That's on a good internet connection, and that's just the way it is. That's where your cap is. But if you give us $500 and get an Xbox, now you can game in 4K at 60 frames with HDR and whatever the next generation of vector graphics or whatever they decide it's going to be, and that's the differentiating factor.
Interesting. Yeah. And then there's also that rumor now of Windows Central dropped an article this week about the Xbox One SAD, which is basically the Xbox One S all digital system. But I thought it was funny people were calling it the SAD. And asking for the heads of marketing at Microsoft for that. But there's a diskless, there's the digital console that's coming out now, and I've always thought that these little things are Microsoft's kind of easing people into this idea of not being so much tied to hardware, as much as being tied to software. And going where your games are and whatnot. I think that's where the future's going with gaming. And people think I'm crazy for saying this. I've had people say, how can you say they'll ever get away from hardware? I can totally see a time in my lifetime where, my kids are accessing Xbox not through hardware but through software.
Dennis Dyack called it one console future. Just the console's your TV.
Yeah.
Or your phone.
So I can see that. Yeah, and I could see that. I could totally see that in the future. And I know it sounds crazy. People, I have conversations with people that are been gaming as long as I have. They're like, no, they're why would they walk away from the money? Why would they do that? They make money on hardware. They're going to alienate people. Yeah, they're going to alienate some people, but those are the people that I think chose not to progress or move with the industry.
Yeah, and I agree, but that future is not going to happen. People hear what you're saying, and they it's they get it in their mind you're talking about 2020, and it's no,
I'm not talking about 2020.
It's not happening anytime.
No.
It may not even be 2030 when
not in America.
Here where we're like what 17th in the world in internet. So like, I mean, our infrastructure is terrible.
It's where 5G comes into play. But I'll get into that in a minute. But go ahead, Slomo.
Yeah, it's just like this the thought that people think like this is going to happen tomorrow. You know, the sky's falling kind of talk is no, it's not happening. You know, right away. And there, I think. I don't know if they're going to eventually get away from hardware. I think as long as Sony and Nintendo are making hardware, I think Microsoft will still make hardware. It just will be less important to them and become less important to them as the generations go.
But isn't Microsoft's end game this too? Like with xCloud, isn't their end game?
Absolutely, because it's their strength. Their strength is software. That's what they do. Yeah. It's what has been their bread and butter since the 80s. It's been software and services. So like that's what, especially they definitely want to go that route. But you know, if the industry doesn't want to go there, I don't think they need to try to push the envelope like they did in 2013. They need to go with the flow, kind of push things, try to, you know, move things along in that direction for their own, you know, business interests. But if the industry is not ready for it yet, and if you know people aren't going to, you know, move with you in that direction, you need to make sure you have the alternative so you can still stay relevant.
Yeah, well, I think that's what I'm saying. I like you said, Slomo. Like, it's a great point. Like, this isn't going to be anything that happens in 2020. It's going to be a progression. I mean, you go back to when Xbox Live first came out in 2002. You know, Xbox Live 2002 is very different from Xbox Live today. Mm-hmm. Some of the things that we have today weren't there day one. They came out in phases. And I kind of think that's what Microsoft's going to do and what the industry is going to do. But I like I was saying, the end game with Microsoft, I think, is to, you know, give people the opportunity to have console-like experiences anywhere on the fly. Now, that's not going to be anything that happens, maybe not even next console generation, for all we know. You know, but there's other people that are trying to do this. Google's doing it, or Google's trying to do it. We know about Verizon, and we haven't heard much about their streaming service, their game streaming service, which I think is going to beta soon, or if it's not in beta already. Cognito early in the live chat said, I meant to mention this. He mentioned xCloud is going to beta later this year. Mm-hmm. You know, NVIDIA, they have the GeForce service right now. I forget what it's called. That's in beta right now, too. NVIDIA believes that they can actually, with improved internet speeds, provide people with, you know, like high-end PC-like gaming experiences on lower-end PCs. So, I mean, this is... I don't know, guys. I like this. This is fascinating to me because I feel like this is kind of, and I mentioned this in the Brap rant last week. I feel like this is kind of the next like big change in the gaming industry. Like I don't think we've had a seismic change like this in a long time. You know, Josh, we talked about going from 2D to 3D gaming. You know, before we went live. To me, that was like the last big seismic shift in gaming.
Really? What about playing online?
Oh yeah, that too. Well. Yeah, but that
was the big one for me.
No, they also going from standard depth to HD.
Yeah, but PC,
I thought Microsoft putting that Ethernet cord on the back of the original Xbox was one of the biggest moves they could do because back then people were saying the same thing they're saying now. Internet in the US can't handle it, and a lot of people don't want to be connected to the internet. And Microsoft was like, "Well, this is what we're doing. We're putting this on the back of our system and." Look at the progression we've seen in just internet capability across the country since then.
Hey, man, when I was playing 2K on Dreamcast on dial-up, I was blown away.
Oh, killing it, man.
Yeah, that's,
you know what I'm saying?
That's funny.
So,
you know, I had a thought when I saw that the SAD edition come out. And they was talking about how there's going to be no disk drive, and I started thinking, so like this is Project Maverick, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they came out with this roughly a year before they're going to come out with their new next gen consoles. I wonder if this is more of a test of things. So like they're still selling their regular 1S, and now they got, you know, the SAD. And then they also have the 1X. I wonder if they're kind of going to be start tracking like between the regular 1S and the one with no disk drive, which one sells more? and that might actually determine whether Lockhart turns out to have a disk drive or not. You know, because they see if it actually sells more to have their lower model with no disk drive, they may just go ahead with the Lockhart and say, go ahead and take that disk drive out. It's not going to hurt us to do that.
You talking about even for the high end version of the system?
No, not for Anaconda. I think Anaconda
that's got to have a disk drive.
But I'm talking about the Lockhart, the one that's supposed to be the lower end model. I think that one could probably be diskless, and I think if especially if the SAD edition sells well and outsells the regular 1S, I can see the Lockhart not having a disc.
What if it came pre-bundled with Apex Legends or with Fortnite?
Which console? The SAD or
the SAD?
Yeah, that's so sad. We're referring to as the SAD.
Well, dude, I can tell you as a person that sold those when Nintendo had their Fortnite bundle and Xbox had their Xbox One S bundle. Those were the first ones to go, and I haven't seen. And every time we got those in, that's what people asked for. And the
Fortnite bundles,
the Fortnite bundle, and it's a free game. But the thing is, most people don't realize that it's just a free game. You can download it on any system.
I mean, but they get like
they gave you skins. They gave you those deep free skins with it.
Oh yeah,
which is like a $25 skin in the game.
That's crazy.
Who spends $25 on a dumb skin?
A lot of people.
A lot of people
that spend $20 on an Apex Legends skin.
Man, that Fortnite is making. It's still making a lot of money, even though they've lost a good, number.
I don't know, man. They gained a lot of them back.
They did.
Dude, did you see?
I haven't seen the numbers.
Did you see? Well, as of the last 4 or 5 days, it's been trending higher on Twitch than Apex has because Season 8 released, and
well, you said you call that Forte. I think you said that.
Yeah, it's as soon as the new season comes, everybody's look. This is the thing, and then they went in. Okay, so Epic is masters at just ripping other people's stuff and putting it in their game. And the thing is, they don't do it slow. They don't take their they don't take their time. They just throw it in the game. Like you can revive people now. You can
ping.
You can ping stuff in the game now.
Wow!
It's like even took stuff from Sea of Thieves. They got
you got the man cannons in the game now. It's like when you look at the game, it's like
there.
And then on top of that, they made it so if you did the certifications, you can get Season 8 for free.
No way.
What?
Yeah.
Are you serious? Wow.
That's what competition does.
Yeah.
They saw this, and I guarantee if Apex Legends was not a thing, you would not be getting Season 8 for free if you did certain challenges in Season 7. It would not have happened. And you wouldn't have all these different like man cannons and pinging in the game. But ever since Season 8 launched, it's been 2-1 over Apex Legends on Twitch. Now, I mean, that's not the greatest barometer because we don't have exact numbers. All we know is Apex Legends hit 50 million players within the first month of it being out.
They've grown faster than Fortnite.
But we also know Fortnite has way more players than that still.
True. This is. I don't think it's a permanent thing because like Apex Legends is just starting. They haven't come out with their seasons yet.
They
haven't come out with their battle pass yet, and they plan on doing solos, plan on doing duos. These are things that haven't been implemented yet, and really, I think what it will come down to, and something that you mentioned, you made a great point about how quickly Epic turns things around. That's why like Epic doesn't work on all the other games they used to work on. All those teams have been they've canceled those games.
Canceled everything.
They all work on Fortnite now, and they're able to make these quick turns around because they're a huge developer with a lot of people.
Money.
Respawn's is not a small developer either, but will be the key difference is can they counter and add new things and keep things fresh to keep people on their game a lot better than PUBG Corp could. because PUBG Corp couldn't keep up, and they when they finally came out with skins, it was like a year later.
You tell me PUBG Corp couldn't keep up with those nice offices they had?
They should have spent a little bit less on the real nice break rooms and extra monitors, and probably spend a little bit more on adding some extra people. But they couldn't keep up with Epic, and it's really going to come down to, can Respawn keep countering and keep innovating on new ways to make their game fresh. And because they know, Epic's going to do their thing, and then they're going to, whatever works for them, they're just going to copy it too. So it's interesting.
The one thing we know is Epic is they see the golden goose, and they ain't gonna let it go without a fight. And the fact that studio does nothing but Fortnite is the one upside, upside that they have versus everybody else. I do think Apex is a better game overall.
I agree.
But the number one thing that we want as gamers and people that play all these games is just, we want updates and continuous updates. And Apex just came out, and Apex is we already seeing data mines of new heroes, new weapons, and stuff like that. So we know that stuff is coming. But that was the downfall of PUBG. It just took forever for everything to come out, and then they just did everything they needed to do Epic wise just to make sure that they became the dominant force when it came to Battle Royale. So if they keep that up, all they can do is just keep splitting hairs with everybody else. And I think that's what they really care about. As long as they keep their player base and people keep coming back for those seasons, that's all that really matters for them.
Yeah. Like I said, man, Forte, you called this. I mean, you called this a couple weeks ago. You said, wait till season 8 drops, and then we'll see how those numbers look.
So, Fast back in the chat said Unreal Engine was made with a secret ripoff code.
It was. They put a nuclear code in there and say, "Oh, this game's doing that. Enter the code."
Oh my goodness, that is too funny. Well, I do want to get to the topic of 5G since we're talking about game streaming. So we've talked about 5G a little bit on this podcast. Slow-Mo, you really got me interested in 5G when I forget why we were talking about it, but you said something. Oh yeah, you said something like, oh yeah, they can do like 400 megabytes per speeds downloads or something like that. I'm like, what?
Minimum.
Yeah, minimum.
Yeah.
And so I started reading more about 5G and what it's potentially capable of, and I'm thinking about what Microsoft's been talking about with regards to xCloud, what Google's doing. What Nvidia's doing in terms of streaming, and I'm thinking to myself, like, this could be the game changer here. This could be, because I think a lot of the times, like, when people talk about game streaming, they think about today, and obviously things like that come up, like latency. Obviously latency would be an issue, but in terms of latency, I think 5G is like 400 times faster in terms of response time than 4G. They're saying. What I mean, I was reading an article, something related to Qualcomm doing some simulated tests on 5G, and they were basically saying that it's going to be faster than fiber to the home, latency is going to be less than Wi-Fi, and Verizon is already beta testing, or not beta testing. Verizon's already have 5G in the home. They have it in like Los Angeles, Indianapolis,
Austin. Oh wait, no, Dallas. Is it Dallas? There's a city. I think it's Dallas.
There's
Chicago. No, not Chicago. There's
not
another.
Chicago.
I can't remember the cities, but I remember they started in like 4 cities.
Yeah,
one was in California, a Texas city, and ended in an East Coast city. I think it may have been Atlanta. Yeah, Atlanta. They basically wanted to be all over the United States, and they started in October, I believe, with their beta testing, and were very, very aggressive in trying to get people to sign on. Like, basically, there's no contract, you can cancel anytime you want. That always gets people's attention. The rates per month were very competitive. I think you didn't have to pay for the first month either.
$50 a month if you're an existing Verizon customer. $70 a month if you're a non-Verizon customer.
Mm-hmm. And I think the first month was free, and free installation, which I mean, really, there isn't much installation, really, because there's nothing. You have to put an antenna on. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I think I haven't seen anyone install an antenna. I know that they one of the unboxing videos I saw on YouTube was basically like a big what looks like the like a just like a what's it called, a shit,
rabbit ears.
Yeah,
rabbit ears.
Yeah. Not rabbit ears. It looks like a wireless router, like a network, like a wireless router. So
yeah.
And it has these LED lights, has 4G, 5G, and the guy turned it on. When he ran speed test, he was getting 700 megabyte downloads and 100 megabyte uploads.
Yeah, but see, that's like the router inside the house. Everyone's going to have that. Like your inside your home is not really going to change. You're just probably just going to change the router modem that you use inside your house. But on the outside, like the way Fios or fiber works is that they had to dig that, throughout your neighborhood all the way to wherever their switch box is in their neighborhood, and that goes on to wherever their main hub is for that area. But from what I've seen is and this is how it's going to work in areas like in the Midwest, where you have huge, beautiful countrysides, but very few people living in those areas. It's not as dense as it is on the East and West Coast, and therefore there's not as much incentive to build and dig copper and fiber for all these miles just for like a smaller percentage of people. Now, when you have something like 5G, where you have these huge antenna towers that are communicating over large distances and can cover an entire area, you just install a tower and bam, you got 5G for the whole area. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, are they using a different part of the spectrum? Are they using spectrum more efficiently? Like, do we know how this is happening? Like from a technical side, the physicist in me is like trying to work out how this bandwidth is working.
I guess there's different frequencies that they use for this. And I've actually there was something that Qualcomm recently did a speed test where they're trying to simulate different scenarios, and there was something about spectrum there, or something about different frequencies they were using. But no, I don't know. Like, I don't know how they're building the infrastructure. Like, I haven't read that much about it. Like, everything that I've been reading has been more about, what this could potentially mean, and the potential speeds that could come to, to homes or to mobile devices too. But no, I don't. The technical piece I really haven't gotten into or read much about.
I'll go delve into the antenna theory, and I'll get back to you guys.
Yeah, I do know that they were saying like one of the challenge might be like with some of the waves or some of the signals that they aren't. I forget what they said. Something to the effect like there might be an issue like with like penetrating older buildings or something like that. That could be an issue. But that's all I really read in terms of like any maybe like technical things, but I haven't read anything about like how like Verizon's like what kind of like how Verizon's putting together their infrastructure. I haven't read anything like that.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah,
well, it's using similar encoding to 4G LTE. I think OFDM. I think is the encoding is using, but it's supposed to be four times better as far as capacity for users and not losing anything with bandwidth than 4G is right now. So I think some of the issues that people have seen and been some concerns is with health of people and some of the testing that I've seen people bring up in some of the cases where like they've tested 5G levels of radiation on rats and they like develop cancer quicker or something like that to that effect, which is I mean it's I'm at the point where it's just like, look, we're getting cancer from
everything.
We're already screwed. So
you get cancer from food now. You can't even. Apple aren't even like safe.
So But yeah, on the technical side of things, I'm a network engineer, so I work on routers and switches and stuff all the time. But for me, I've never really worked on I've never worked at an ISP on the level of like, massive level equipment that's designed to deliver data on a massive level from like city to city kind of stuff. So for me, it's a little out of my depth, but at the same time, like I understand kind of how it works on like the ground level. But I'm all for it. I heard a minimum upload of like 100 meg. Cool with that. Bandwidth is supposed to be 4 times better. I'm cool with that. Just how far things get implemented and how quickly is really just all it all depends on these ISPs.
Yeah, it's funny, Josh. I'm actually trying to look up some of the technicalities of how they're doing it.
I'm doing that too.
Yeah, and it's like I guess the industry standard they're calling it 5G NR. I forget what the NR stands for. I read what it stands for last night, but I don't remember off the top of my head what it stands for. I know that T-Mobile CEO called out Verizon for not using the NR when they rolled out their 5G.
I did see that. Yeah.
But they're saying the key to driving 5G NR technology is forward across sub 6 gigahertz SA and MM wave deployments. I don't know what that means. I'm not.
6 gigahertz is the frequency at which the electromagnetic waves are traveling.
So my understanding is if it's sub, then the question is, because somebody brought this up to me like in a DM, there's like, oh well, if it's sub 600 megahertz or gigahertz, you're probably looking at, because some people have claimed that this can do up to 20 gig in terms of download speeds. But if you're at sub 6, you're not going to get 20. You're probably more likely to get like close to a gig,
which is fine. Like you really don't need, you don't need 20 gig download speeds. Like it's just not necessary. 1 gig's fine. I mean, especially for our country where there are people struggling at 6 megabytes per second.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. I don't think that's all that necessary. But hey, if it improves infrastructure, the internet in this country, so be it.
Yeah. Well, I know that Qualcomm was one of the tests they did. I think they were saying at the worst, like the bottom 10% or something of like worse, like in terms of like, you're getting like the worst signal 5G, you're probably still getting at least 100 megabyte downloads.
Bring on the cancer. Let's do this thing.
Oh my goodness.
Words never said before.
Right.
Jeez.
Yeah, my mom survived it. I should be all right.
Like
oh my goodness.
Tracy Morgan said, if you're not willing to die for it, you didn't really want it.
My idol.
Yeah, but and the interesting thing is, I mean, these are all like Qualcomm's does basically lab testing, 5G, and so we'll see. I mean, I think this is going to be fascinating. I think this is really going to have, if this thing does what they say it's going to do. I mean, just think about the impact that's going to have on the gaming industry and the impact that's going to have on Microsoft and Sony and Google and all the things they want to do in terms of streaming, the ability to stream content to our devices now. The only other question would be, well, if you're playing on a mobile device, what do you do in terms of a controller? Do you lug around your Xbox One controller anywhere you go?
In a fanny pack.
Wow.
But it's interesting. I just remembered this. Remember, Enrique, I was telling you how T-Mobile had offered me. I'm a T-Mobile customer on mobile phones, and they'd offered me a huge discount to switch from Verizon to their new TV service that I had no idea they were doing. I think they're trying to make a big push to be. I don't know if they're trying to be an ISP or not, but. Yeah, they're trying to offer TV in the home now, as well as a TV service off of your phone, all of your mobile devices. Which, if I recall correctly, for me, because I'm already a T-Mobile customer, I think it's like $50 a month, but it may be like 60 or 70 if you're not a T-Mobile customer. I have to find the email, but things are changing. I mean, it's some of my concerns though are like, you know, with no net neutrality, are we going to start seeing some funny business, right? So remember when so like we also
by the way, Forte made a great video about this. Forte, real quick, you made a great video about data caps.
Well, biggest thing with data cap, the biggest thing that I see with the whole data caps and situations like that is for ISPs when they, like, I have Comcast and they have already given us different ways to be able to avoid having a data cap by making you pay more. Like, I just switched over my router to a newer router that basically only has 2 ports on the back of it that I can hook up through, you know, normal Ethernet, and then the rest of the house would just be all Wi-Fi. And then they give me unlimited data because they're going down the direction of saying, hey, well, we know a lot of people are going to be using this. But then if you don't have that, you have to pay the $50 extra a month. And I just don't see a situation where all these other ISPs are just allowing people to just enter into these different data services, especially if you have data, these like Verizon having their own streaming service and stuff like that. And then you're going to have competing services like Google into that. So how is that going to interact with each other? You know, is Verizon going to throttle Google just because they're competing against each other and they're going to have a super highway with their service for people? I think that's where Slomo was going with the whole net neutrality thing. But overall, the country just isn't ready for it at all. It's like I live in a very really good area where I can get 1 gig now and 1 gig up real easily. But there's places around me that can't even get, 25 down and 2 up. Yeah. And I mean, that's and even in that regard, when you're talking about a streaming future and being able to put the infrastructure together like that, I feel like it's just not viable compared to other countries and stuff. So it's a big wait and see for me when it comes to that ultimately, but I feel like it's going to happen. They're going to push us in that direction sooner or later. It just really comes down to how the rest of the world is going to be ready to accept this as time goes on.
Correction, T-Mobile's new service is actually $90 a month for existing T-Mobile wireless customers, and then $130 if you didn't have it.
And what is this? What is
that big a difference?
Huh?
You said how much is it?
It's $90 if you're an existing $90 per month if you're an existing T-Mobile customer. So, but I'm trying to look into it further. I know it's TV. I don't know if they're offering like internet with it as well.
The funny thing
about
T-Mobile, because I have T-Mobile too. The more embedded in their ecosystem you are, the more places they're willing to give you internet pretty much at the lowest price you can get it at. Like, I have a hotspot. Like I have unlimited data on my phone, which they do throttle once you hit 50 gigs. Yeah. But if you pay, I think it's like $5 extra, you can remove yourself from that. And then I paid $2 extra more to have mobile hotspot in my car, which is like, I think it's 50 gigs on that too, which I'm not in my car that much to use 50 gigs, but for $2, that's a lot. And then that is literally, I get about 85 to 100 megs down on that internet in my car. Like when I speed test it in certain areas, in pretty much every area I go into, I get pretty good. I get almost better internet than some neighborhoods get around me, and just sitting in my car sometimes.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I mean, this is new tech. It's just rolling out. I think this is going to be interesting how this thing plays out. I mean, I think the biggest thing that I've seen too is that this is really going to compete against what traditional internet providers can do in terms of internet to home. Now you can basically get better speeds through a wireless network as opposed to like FiOS or Comcast cable, whatever the case is. So It's gonna be interesting, and I think the interesting part is the impact to the video gaming industry and how that's going to play out. So,
yeah. I mean, I think the last thing I'll just add to that is just when it comes to, especially since we all play Xbox and way it's going to interact with that, I just think it's going to really push people to be very picky with the things that they actually want to download and stuff. And then on top of that, I also think that streaming is going to be a little bit easier on people's internet. If I go off the video that Brad was talking, like Eric was talking about, you know, most of these games like Gears of War, 120 something gigs for the full game if you want to download it. Compared to streaming the game, you're not going to have nowhere near as much of a hit on your internet connection than you are by just downloading the full thing. Now, you might hit that cap over time when it comes to like streaming it over the course of however long it takes you to beat that game, but you're not making that full investment up front like you would, like, say, right now. If I want to go play Anthem, I'm committed to a 60 to 70 gig download right now. Versus if you just stream that game, you could be like halfway through, you'd be like, nah, man, I'm done with this game. And then you might only committed like 15 to 20 gigs of that download. So it gives you more headroom for those people to be able to say, hey, well, even though I got a data cap, it's not really affecting me as much as it would if I actually paid for this game outright and just downloaded it straight to my system. So I think that's going to be something a lot of people can really hold comfort knowing that they can still play certain games and not be completely screwed with their data caps, but it's still going to be an issue going forward.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, man. It's a great point. So before we wrap up the podcast this evening, Josh, were you able to find any interesting information on the tech behind 5G?
Reading all sorts of things about how cell phones work and realize that I literally have no idea how any of this black magic happens. Like
black magic.
I've literally taught electrical engineering classes, and I'm just like, oh man, antennas and spectrum, like data compression is so, it's a whole nother level. So nope, I'm good.
He said we'll talk about that again at a later show once we dive deeper.
Yeah. I'll write up a technical review and we'll come back to it.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because you're right. There is like different, I guess, frequencies that 5G uses. So, yeah. But anyhow, hey, Chief told me live chat says Kansas City here. Whoop whoop. Are you referring to? Do you have 5G there? Is that what you're saying, or?
My dog's name is.
Someone said there it's expanded from at least at Verizon. No, I think Verizon has gone to 11 cities, and I think Sprint's now at like 5 or something like that.
Yeah, he says it looks like ABC says Sprint's 5G rolls out this May in 4 cities: Chicago, Atlanta, Dallas, Kansas City, and then they're going to open up in LA, New York, Houston, Phoenix, and DC by the end of June.
In DC,
yeah, but isn't T-Mobile? Didn't T-Mobile buy Sprint?
Yeah, T-Mobile bought.
That's Sprint. Not official yet. They're still trying.
They're still going through the FAC stuff.
Yeah.
Because I know that's
pretty much happened.
I know part of that acquisition was because of the technology that Sprint has for 5G. From my understanding of that, why they did it. But hey, slow-mo, man. If they get a DC, man, I got my eye on the new Samsungs, the new Galaxies.
Yeah. Sprint has the technology, but AT&T has the. I mean, I said that backwards. Sprint has the technology, but T-Mobile has the better infrastructure. So they can be able to disperse that a lot better. That's why it's more people the funny thing is more people on Sprint. And like Sprint is considered to be that the po' boy special in most people's areas.
The po' boy.
The po' boy special, man.
That's funny, man.
It's like they give everybody a phone. They'll give anybody service, but that service may be a little bit.
To get the hell off Sprint, man.
Dog.
Worst service ever.
Worst service you could ever have in your life, man. It's like
that was the biggest mistake I made mobile-wise.
I was willing to spend $30 more a month for the same amount of minutes and plan on Verizon just to get away from Sprint 15 years ago.
Yeah, I did not have a good time with Sprint. I went from T-Mobile to Sprint and then went back within a year.
It was hard for me to go like like 7 years ago, when my wife works for T-Mobile, like the old corporate, and I had Verizon probably for a good 2 years while she was working there, and refused to switch. I was like, I had such a bad experience with Sprint, and I was like, I'd rather pay this astronomical price that Verizon wants me to pay that have shitty service wherever I go. And then my wife had it for like 2 years, and she's like, you might want to switch. And I was like, you know what? You ain't had no issues. I think I will.
In the UK, I pay the equivalent of $25 a month for 100 gigs of data that works anywhere in the country and on mainland Europe.
Nice. That's what I'm talking about.
What?
Yeah.
100 gigs of data.
Yep. My wife pays $14 and she gets 20 gigs of data, and same thing.
This is
see,
Yeah.
that's double what I get, and I pay what, 15 for that on my phone.
It's insane how cheap.
That's ridiculous.
Wireless
services. I pay like now I pay like $110 for 3 devices for my wife, my mother, and myself, or on Metro, my T-Mobile.
Yeah,
right.
It's the only thing that's cheaper in
and
the UK.
And that's unlimited. Unlimited calls, text, data, everything.
Well, that's a good question. Like, how do they, with respect to internet over there in the UK, how do they actually, like, what's the vibe over there? Like, how do they actually like to compete? How do they compete over there with each other?
I mean, it's pretty much the same as it is in the States. Like, you just look it up and see who delivers in your area. I have Virgin as my internet provider. I have fiber, and I pay £40, so that's about $50 a month for it.
But do you only have one provider for your area?
No, there were 4 that were able to provide for my area.
See, that's the problem right there.
And that's what we don't have. We don't have true competition like that here.
I only have one.
Yeah, it's either one or it's like a duopoly, where it's really like just 2 competing services, but they're not really competing.
You don't have Cox in where you live?
No, I have Comcast and Verizon.
Verizon, yeah.
But Verizon owns all of the backbone internet for this area. So technically, the way it works is that all of them go to Verizon for business. So, like, if you want, like, I'm going to come out with my own ISP, my own internet company. Your only way you're going to do any business is if you go to Verizon and say, hey, let's make a deal, and you get a percentage off of what I make, and I get to do business here, because Verizon owns all of the copper that goes out of this area to other parts of the world. You have to tap into their network in order for Comcast to work. They have to tap into Verizon. For Cox to work, they have to tap into Verizon. Google Fiber tried to get up in here, and guess what Verizon said? Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, they lobby like local like state legislators to block them, basically.
Yeah, because they knew Google wasn't going to play by their rules. If you're going to play in this area, it's not. That's what it says. It's not like it's not real capitalism. It's not a real competition in any part of this country when it comes to the internet. You do what whoever runs the backbone of the internet in your area is. It's either Verizon or it's AT&T or it's Time Warner. You do what they tell you to do, or you don't do business here. And Google had this idea of, we're going to get everyone on broadband. Great ideas that everyone was behind except for the ISPs. We're going to get everyone on broadband. We're going to be like, if you want gigabit internet, it's going to be $40 a month. And it'll be like $6 a month for like 100. It was just like, what? Yeah, get Google in here. And then Verizon was like, you messing with the money. Come on now. Yeah, we're not going to allow that. So Google is in places where, like in the Midwest, you can get Google in some places, but Google had to actually like dig the copper lines to get the infrastructure together to make that happen. And that stuff is expensive. And
then on top of that, you got to think that those backroom deals were happening because you got to look at with Google, they got it to so many areas so fast Comcast probably was like, okay, well, you can have these areas, you just have to stay out of these, and that's why you haven't really seen Google expand as much. Because, like, me personally, my contract for Comcast ran up in beginning of February, and I was looking to get the heck away from Comcast. All I really need is internet in my house. I don't need anything else. Everything else I can just either download or just stream through whatever media device I have. And when I was looking, I was like, okay, so I can do Verizon, I can go Fios, or I can go Wow Electronics. But the problem is the subdivision I live in is monopolized by freaking Comcast. So any of those services can come to this area. When I look it up, they say we're not available in your area right now. Leave us your email, your name and email address and address, and we'll let you know when we can come to that area. And I'm like, are you serious?
I'm gonna tell you exactly how this works. They made a contract. They made an unspoken agreement with Comcast. We won't compete here if you don't compete.
You don't compete there.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And so until that whole, we'll let you know when we can do business in your area. We'll let you know when this contract's up.
Oh my goodness!
It's so that everyone can eat.
Yeah,
they want to make sure. This is why I say it's not real competition. They don't do things to like real competition. Is this is your price. We're gonna go a little bit lower to try to steal your customers. That's real competition. This isn't real competition. This is you want that zip code. Okay, you take these zip codes. I'll take these zip codes, and and they expect people to say, well, forget you guys. I'll go to Verizon, and after their contract's up, when they're upset about things, and Verizon knows that, like, hey, some of our customers are going to say forget Verizon and go to YouTube. They don't care. They have this whole thing set out like what Josh has is great because there's real competition out there. But that's not what goes on around here, and it's not like that for the entire country. If you're not dealing with Verizon, it's AT&T pulling the string.
Hey, so much for capitalism, right?
Right.
Free market. So much of that.
Hey guys, I gotta bounce.
Yeah, no worries. We're getting ready to wrap up, man. But if you got to go, man, it's cool. We'll catch you. We'll catch you in DM and next week, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Josh, man, it was great meeting you, having you on.
Absolutely. It's been a blast. Thanks. You guys have been absolutely amazing welcoming me on. So thank you so much.
No, absolutely, Josh. And,
yeah,
man.
See you guys later.
Yeah, catch you later. E. And everyone.
Gators, man.
Yeah, watch out for Gators.
Watch out for Gators.
Yeah. Hey, big shout out to everyone in the live chat. Thanks for stopping by, guys. There's a lot of 5G talk going on in the live chat. Josh, thanks, man, for joining us. I know you are in the UK, and so we definitely appreciate taking time out. I know it's late over there. You're probably ready to go to bed, so we really appreciate the time. Everyone, please check out Josh at the on the Lords of Gaming .net website. You can check out his Anthem review. And Josh, let everyone know if they want to give you a follow on Twitter, where they can find you.
Yeah, my Twitter account is @JoshuaRedding. It's just my full name. Redding is spelled REDING. Seems like in America they spell it with 2 D's, and here they spell it with an A somewhere. So seems like no matter where in the world I go, no one knows how to spell my last name. But yeah, I post up the content that I do for lordsofgaming.net on there, and I talk about some Marvel and DC stuff. I talk about some of the writing work I do, and once my physics PhD stuff gets really rolling, I'll probably be posting some articles and stuff that I'm working on there. So you'll get a good mix of science and entertainment if you come and give me a follow.
Awesome, man. Well, we got to get you back on and talk about to discuss Star Wars and some comic book stuff.
Anytime.
Yeah, we definitely need to do that. So, but no, man, thank you again. It's been a pleasure. And big shout out to Slow-Mo and Forte and Eric Jackson. B Money couldn't make it tonight, but big shout out to B. We'll be back next week at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Everyone, please have a great rest of the week gaming. And hey, if you're interested in Devil May Cry 5, check out the reviews. Looks good. Capcom has another banger, maybe. So, all right, everyone. Thank you, everyone in the live chat. Remember, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We'll catch you guys next week. Peace.
Later, guys.